Hi, this is Tom Swinford at the Newport Marathon, and this is the Newport Marathon Podcast. Today, my guest is the one and only Ollie Richardson, who is a coach at Newport High School. He's a surfer. He has a surf club. He has all kinds of other silly talents that he does. Coaches pole vault for the track team, and he's just a really good guy. He's also a first-time marathoner, and he'll tell you a little bit more about that. So welcome, Ollie. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel honored to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's great.
So where do we start?
Well, I think probably a good place to start would just be your introduction to the Newport Marathon. I mean, what are your early rememberings of the marathon?
Well, my first experience was when I started working at Newport High School in 2004. It would have been the next summer, so it would have been 2005, and I was coaching football and track. So I helped both teams with the finish line set up and tear down with the football team, and then with all the I forget what you call the bags that the runners put all their stuff in right before the race, and then they get brought to the finish line, and then handed out all the T-shirts. So I kind of helped with all of that behind the scenes. That was my first experience. And I don't remember how many people were in the marathon, but it seemed like it was much smaller, like 600 or 700 back then.
Yeah.
And it's expanded since then.
Yeah, it has.
So that was my first experience and introduction to the marathon, and being able to volunteer and help out with an awesome community event that really brings a lot of people from all over the place to the small coastal town of Newport, Oregon.
Yeah. This year we've got 6 countries being represented. I think that's the most that we've ever had at one time. And we've got a Kenyan coming over. I don't know that he's an official marathon pro or anything, but anyway, he's from Kenya.
Awesome.
Yeah.
He's obviously never been here to run it before.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, that's kind of awesome. And then, we have 30 plus states that'll be here as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to continue to grow. And I know for me, I'm really looking forward to it, because I couldn't think of a better place to run it just because of the cool coastal community with regards to the weather. And it's a pretty flat course, not a lot of elevation gain. So I think my goal of finishing the marathon without walking the whole time, I would say that this is it's setting me up for success, just because the course is very beginner friendly, I guess I would say.
Yeah. Good. So actually, John Lawrence, who's just in here, that's his very goal too, is just to finish this thing, hit the start line and be able to cross the finish line.
Yeah, and my expectations for myself are not, I've wanted to run a marathon for the past 20 plus years, and I've always told myself I'm going to, and it's been, I guess you could even call it a bucket list item. And now that I'm 46 and I'm not the head soccer coach and working at the yacht club with all of the food with the boys soccer program, and having to kind of be in charge of that, I felt like I was able to kind of step away. And after 20 years of volunteering, I'm going to become a participant. And I look forward to the challenge of the marathon, that everything that goes into the just your mentality of it, and the physical load that you put on your body, and everything that comes along with that throughout the race.
Being part of that, especially at the finish line like that, serving food to these people, what are some of the things that stand out about the people that come and run the marathon and come to Newport and do that?
I mean, I would say I don't know what happens out on the course sometimes, but I would say everyone that comes through and gets food, I mean, they are usually they're so happy, there's smiles, they're talking about the race, talking about how, and I just find that we really get the best of everybody coming through, because they did it. They came here, they ran the marathon, whether or not they met their time or their goal, but they're just so happy, and they're just so complimentary too. They're like, oh, it was so cool to see the band playing. It was so cool. The wrestling team was dressed up in their singlets, and they talk about all the individual groups and volunteers that help out with the marathon to really make this a unique race to run, because of all the added things that our volunteer groups bring to this course.
Yeah.
And we kind of get to hear their stories about it as they're grabbing food and hanging out in the area at the yacht club there, where everyone kind of congregates at the end. So I feel like we get the best of the best from all the runners just because of all the stories that they get to share with us.
And that probably added to you wanting to run it, just to experience that. I mean, to see all the kids in action at the aid stations and what they're doing and being part of that.
Yeah. I've definitely had a few visions of when I'm running. I just because I know so many people are going to know me, and I feel like every time they go, Coach Richardson, I'm going to have to just like throw my hands up in the air and keep running. So,
yeah, so are you doing a little extra strength training for arm raising?
I haven't done that. I assume that most of that'll happen, from the starting line to where you head out the bayfront. Because I understand once you get out on the bayfront, it's kind of just aid stations set up there. There's probably not a lot of spectators and people cheering people on throughout the whole bayfront as you head out.
Yeah, once you're on the Bay Road, there's not a lot. And part of that is by design, because that means that we'd have a lot more traffic.
Yeah.
And that would just really congest the race course up. So we have the shuttle buses. So people that want to go out and spectate and cheer their runners on can get on a shuttle bus, ride out, drop off, pick up another shuttle bus coming through, and try to keep the traffic down. So hopefully there isn't a lot of traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know one thing that really stands out for me, being a coach at Newport High School and being with different groups that have volunteered over the time. It's just amazing how everybody comes together to put on what is a really huge event for this city. Just because I know that, over 1,000 runners have been coming every year, and I don't know what the marathon's ever had, 12 or 1,300.
Yeah, it was 1,250.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I just know, every single person that comes, I think the data shows they bring anywhere from 2 to 3 people with them.
Yeah.
And, from the hotels to the restaurants to all the shops and just all of the patronage that it brings into our community is just such a positive thing to kind of start our summer off.
Yep.
And because there's so many businesses here that just, have to rely on that summer season to really be ready for the winter, because it really slows down here depending on what business you're in. And, that November through February can be rough sometimes in the winter for getting people to come and visit. So,
yeah. And that's one reason why Bruce Durkee chose that weekend, the first weekend after Memorial Day, because things haven't kicked off, and he was hoping the marathon might be the first step in getting the flow rolling,
Yeah, for sure. And then, obviously the big event that happens at Seafood and Wine Festival is absolutely huge in February there. But this is a great way to bring people to our community and let them experience what a really great run local marathon can look like. And I wonder if it's ever, and I can just think of how many my individual teams have had, but there must be 150 volunteers at the end of the race, or I don't know what the total number is. Maybe a couple
total number
hundred?
is about 250.
250. Okay,
yeah, we have 100. I think Kavanaugh has 100 volunteers alone, just managing various, places around town on the course. Yeah.
So that's,
and then we have all of the kids out on the high school teams doing that, and then other individuals doing stuff. Plus, the race directors all volunteer. And they're all of the behind-the-scene people that are doing stuff. I mean, Shannon, who is doing the aid station, sag wagon things, they're all volunteers.
Yeah, I know. I actually just checked my email. I got an email from Todd Thompson about all the duties that each team is doing. And, our booster club is so instrumental in pulling this event off and making it such a success that there's so many people that the cool thing that, like you were talking about at the finish line, almost every finisher, when we ask them like, hey, would you want to come back and run? They're like, definitely. We'd love to come back and run this race again. So they really have a good experience here, which is awesome for them to leave their experience and know that it was such a great time for them and wanting them to come back. And I'm sure they talk to friends and people that they know wherever they came from to say, hey, you should come run the marathon. So,
Yeah, we really want to put on a quality event, something that might be a big time, something you'd find in New York, except without the people. We don't have the amount of people lining the roads like they do there, but we do want to offer things. Like I know at the Portland Marathon, I've run that several times, and their finish area is no better than ours.
Yeah.
We have live music, and we have food and beer and other things to eat, chowder.
Yeah.
Some Moe's chowder is there. And it's a quality event.
Well, I know I've seen all the finisher glow and blast medals.
Yeah.
I assume that's going to happen again. I'm really looking forward to getting one of those.
Yeah.
Those things are really, really awesome.
They're unique.
Yeah, they're unique.
Each one is different.
Yep.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome.
So...
And that's all locally done too. Like when I first took over the marathon, part of it was I want to keep as much local as we can. I really part of our goal also is a thank you for to all the businesses in the community. So that if people are looking for a hotel, all they have to do is go to our map. We have the hotels on there. We have restaurants on there. Anybody that wants to be on our website can be on there, and we're trying to pay back because our community supports the boosters so much, donating things at the auction and the banquet and all kinds of whatever, little dinners that they do for teams and 50-50 nights and all that kind of stuff. So we're really trying to say thank you and promote as much back to the community as we can. While we're on that, can you say a few things that the boosters have done for Newport High School?
Oh, the list is long. Well, obviously, let's just start with our both at the high school and the middle school. We have turf fields, and without the booster club, neither one of those turf fields would be put in. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars between the two but I'm pretty sure it's over $500,000 for both of them combined, and probably upwards of maybe closer to $1 million, but that's just the fields. And with being in this wet climate, I mean, those fields get used so much. And when they were grass and mud and in the winter, I mean, it was, if you go out there and use them, you do more damage to them because everything gets saturated and then you have holes. And cause I can remember before we put the turf field in at the high school, I can remember one year it was so wet and muddy on Morrow Field that and then it froze. It got cold and froze. And there were just all these, 6-inch divots from footprints from the football players. And we were out there with a roller, like a push roller filled with water, trying to flatten the field out so that kids didn't sprain their ankles because the ground had hardened.
Yeah.
And so having the facilities that we have is just amazing. Helping get that timing shed put in for the track program. And then obviously, even during COVID, the soccer team got 2 new goals and the shelters that we use. And I as I have coached throughout the years and we go around to all these different schools, I mean, we have some of the nicest facilities, and some of the nicest equipment out of any program that we go see elsewhere. And the kids notice. And that's a really cool thing because they feel like, they're loved and people are taking care of them, and it makes them want to come out and be a part of athletics at Newport High School. Because I know as a teacher and a coach, I feel like I've probably been able to teach kids things way more on the athletic field or in the gym or on the, whatever it is, whatever sport. But just life lessons through sports is so valuable to teach young kids in school before they get out into the real world on their own. And it's a lot harder to do that in the classroom sometimes, I find.
Yeah.
And so
your boys soccer team won the state tournament. What? 1, 2, what, how many rings do you have?
Three times.
Three times state champions.
Yeah.
And so if I'm correct, the boosters paid for food and motel to attend all those.
Yeah, and I would say that's one thing that I don't see that at other schools. Hardly at all, but our I don't know how they do it, and they're just so generous. They cover hotel costs when we have to stay overnight. I know personally for me and my soccer coaching days, I've been to Ontario 3 times. It's about anywhere from 12 to 14 hours on a bus. And it's a 2-day trip to get there. And being able to provide meal money for kids when you go to the state track meet, or once you make it to state and you're in the state tournament, it's just an automatic thing that they provide, because they know how valuable it is for kids to not have to think about the little things of, oh, am I going to have money to buy food, and we're going here and we're staying here and I can't afford it. And so, to offer that to everyone, and to make that equitable, and just everybody that's on the team has that built in. It's just an absolute amazing experience. I know for me personally, we were able to stay at a hotel the night before the state championship game, and being able to go up there and practice at the facility where the game is played, and being able to have that last team, really tight team bonding the night before was, I don't feel like we would not have won 3 if we didn't have that experience. And I can't thank the Booster Club enough for all that they do for our programs and for our kids. At the end of the day, it's just absolutely phenomenal, amazing. I don't even know what the word is, but I don't feel like there's no Booster Club that can match what we do in the state of Oregon.
Yeah,
so
it's
really
pretty
cool
special.
to be a part of.
Yeah. Yeah, and the opportunities that our kids get to experience, by being able to be part of winning teams, and being able to go places, and have equipment that's going to function, and uniforms that are going to be good, and football helmets that are solid, that'll protect their little beans. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see.
Can you talk about what you've learned by training for your first marathon, or ask him about that?
So, in the training for the marathon, is there anything that has occurred to you about how special running is, and why being a distance runner is the most awesome sport in the world?
It's a great question, and it's something that I always kind of joke, but I say it truthfully to kids too. And I'm like, look, if you're struggling with grades, or just go join the cross country team. They're the smartest group. They have the highest GPA every year. Running makes you smarter, is what I preach. I'm pretty fortunate. I've always loved running. It's something that has been a passion of mine since I was really young. And I think that started with my mom. She would run 3 miles every morning. That was kind of her deal when my brother and I were growing up. And so we started running at an early age and competing. We'd run the Prefontaine. They had a kids pre. And then once we got older, we started running the Prefontaine. And we'd go around to other races.
That's in Coos Bay, right?
Yeah, and that's in Coos Bay. So it's always been something that we've really, both my brother and I, and it's been kind of a family thing. But with regards to my own training for this, I mean, I've never ran, still to this day, I still haven't put in anything over 12, 13 miles. And so I guess the hardest thing for me is I know my body really well, and I know I've talked to you a few times about it too, and I haven't done a lot of mileage until recently, of actually measuring the amount of mileage I'm running. I was just basing it off of time. And I feel like I know when my body's at that point, and I've ran enough miles, and I kind of know my pace without looking at a watch or doing anything like that. But I've definitely noticed on my 8 to 12 mile runs, there's certain points as you get into that run where oh, my knee's hurting a little bit, and then 10 minutes later it's gone, and then it's oh, my ankle's kind of starting to hurt, or my feet are kind of cramping, and so I definitely between now and the marathon, which is coming up quick, I'm definitely I don't know if I'm gonna actually run a full 26 before the marathon, but I'm definitely gonna put in some 18 to 22 milers to where I can really feel my body out. The other big thing that I did, it was kind of a New Year's resolution. I'm all right, I'm doing it this year, and I'm going to run the Newport Marathon. And then from January 1st on, I'm not drinking any alcohol till I cross that finish line and get my first cup of Rogue beer at the finish line there. That's what I'm looking forward to. So, and I think that's helped me as well. And
Robbie Wienert, who was just in, said the very same thing. He says, I think he said 6 months or 6 weeks out, no alcohol.
Okay. Yeah. So, and I was also, for me personally, I was just looking I kind of was in a little bit of a rut. I didn't really have anything. I've always been a very competitive person at everything I've done in my life. And I just kind of needed something to train for.
Yeah.
And so running the marathon was an easy thing, and it's something that's been on my list, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I also like to, both for my own family and for any kids that I teach, it's like, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And I follow through. And when you say you're going to do something, you finish. And so I think that's an important lesson is, no matter what happens, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to finish. And pretty much my goals for the marathon are run the whole thing without walking and don't get injured. And if I do those two things, I'm going to be feeling pretty good. I don't know.
Those are good goals. They are. I would suggest that you do a few 20 milers though. Yeah. Don't be surprised. You don't need to do the full 26, but if you could squeak in 2 20 milers between now and then, that'd be helpful.
Yeah. And
even if you had to do a run walk thing with it, just so your body knows how to spend time, that kind of time.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about all the things that I definitely want to have some music or some. I've been listening to some David Goggins. He's a pretty good motivational speaker. He's got some. He cusses a little more than I like, but he has some valid points that get across. And but there's some things I've been listening to just to kind of help push me, knowing that I can train and work a little harder than I am. So
So you listen to music then?
Yeah, a lot of times I do. I'll listen to music or podcasts on some of my runs, but sometimes I'll run without anything.
Yeah.
And then I usually always take my black lab running with me, but I won't be able to bring her on the long runs. I don't want to have her run for more than about 10 miles. That's about her max.
Yeah.
She starts slowing me down.
I had an English pointer I could run with. She could do it. She could do 30 miles. But she would often, when she was younger, of course, she could do 15 with me. I wouldn't take her beyond that, even though I know she could. Yeah, and it's kind of fun with the dog. But a lab, my gosh. Yeah, a lab, they're water animals.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I know the other thing that I've tried to always do is every time I finish my run, and I usually just run from my house, so I always finish with my steep hill at the very end, which is a burner. It just makes you groan a little bit as you're running up it. It's pretty steep. And then I always try to finish with 20 push-ups.
That's a great hill to finish on.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to finish the marathon and bust 20 push-ups out before I go to the
At least you're getting the arm raise up.
Exactly.
Getting that strength. Yeah.
So
that's awesome. So are you training any of your long runs where you're training by drinking water while you're
and that's the one thing I haven't incorporated. I haven't incorporated drinking water or eating anything yet. But like I said, I haven't ran over 12 miles yet either. And I feel like right at that 10, 12 mile is where I really start feeling thirsty and feeling like I need a little bit.
The thing is, you got to start doing it early.
Yeah, you got to start doing it before you feel it. So
that's right.
But I feel like with the water and aid stations on the course, that will probably be adequate for what I need. I don't plan on carrying a camel pack or anything like that.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine, but you're going to want to start drinking water right away.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while for it to come in. And you don't want to give the body a chance to dehydrate.
No, exactly.
As far as the food goes, that's really an individual thing. Yeah. I think the Kenyans run without no food. Some of their drinks may have a little carbohydrate shot in it, and that kind of thing. But
or like a little electrolyte or like a Gatorade or something like that.
Yeah,
And is it Gatorade on the course? Gatorade and water they have at most of the aid stations?
Gatorade and water. I think one of the aid stations has oranges and bananas, that kind of thing. Yeah. But just one of them. Yeah. So it's gonna be up to you.
Yeah.
So practice with taking the gels or whatever it is that you think you might want to take. Yeah. And we've had runners, and this would be possible. We've had runners who had a special drink that they had made, and that's what they trained with. And they said, is it possible to get it out on the course? Oh. And yes, it is possible. Okay. So if it's all marked and all that, we just give it to Shannon, and she puts it in her sag wagon and delivers it to the aid station. So it is possible.
Okay. I figured that's what I was thinking in the back of my mind. If there was something that I wanted on the course, I was just going to give it to the girls' soccer team that I'm currently coaching, because I know they're out on the Bay Road.
Okay. All right.
And so I was thinking that they might have something, but I'm sure you know, there's been a lot of scenarios that have gone through my head because I've been here during the marathons when it's been kind of rainy and cold and where it's been really hot.
Yeah.
And I know it gets hot out on that bay. That when it's sunny and full sun and there's no clouds, it gets really warm out on that bay road on the way back.
It does.
Especially if the wind hasn't kicked up.
That's right.
And so I'm a little nervous about that, depending on what the weather has. But
just start hydrating early. There'll be enough water. I mean, we always, after that first hot year where we were scrambling for water, we made sure we had it, but it was a scramble.
Yeah.
And so there'll be enough water. Just make sure that you're hydrating.
Yeah. Throughout the whole race, like every aid station, you should probably be drinking something.
The aid stations are within 2 miles of each other, but some people will even take a little plastic bottle then, and they could get that from the sag wagon. Oh, I need a bottle in between.
Yeah.
They could do that, and some of them do it. Hopefully it won't be that hot again. But so I understand that you finish all your runs with 20 push-ups at the end. Are you going to do this at the end of the marathon?
That is definitely my goal. If my legs are cramping, I hope I still have enough energy in my upper body to bust out 20 right after I cross the line. So any of you spectators out there, if you want to meet me at the finish line, I don't know when that'll be. I'm guessing somewhere between, if all goes as planned, between 3 to 3.5 hours, somewhere in there is my guess. But join me for 20 push-ups at the finish line, and we'll see you after I cross the ribbon.
Well, I want to say first, thank you, Ollie, for coming in and being part of this. I really appreciate our conversation, and it's always a pleasure to coach and work with you.
Well, thank you, Tom. I agree. Same thing back to you. I've had a pleasure coaching with you over the last 20 years, and you bring a lot of inspiration to these young kids, and you show them that it's still possible even into your 70s. So keep that train going as long as you can. Hey, everybody. My name's Ollie Richardson. This will be my first marathon that I'm running. I'm really excited about the opportunity to go out and do something that I've been thinking about for over 20 years. This marathon is I've been a part of it for 20 years as a volunteer, and it's such a great community event. I'm looking forward to being a participant this year and just going out there and competing as best I can, and making it to that finish line without walking is the goal. So no injuries, and I'm going to do it with a smile on my face, and we'll see what happens.